interest declarations. Does any member have a conflict of interest? Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Just declaring Seaview Marina Limited.
Thank you. And we'll just note too, for Councillor Brown, Urban Plus Limited, Council's representative on their board. Okay, just a note regarding precedence of business. In accordance with Standing Order 10.4, I accord precedence to items 6, 7 and 8 on the agenda in order to cater to our visitors who are here to present papers to us today. So the order of the business will be as follows, and you don't need to remember this, I'll guide you through. Firstly, items 6 and 5A, Seaview Marina Limited's 6-month report and then draft statement of intent. Then the same items 7 and 5B for Urban Plus Limited. We'll then take item 8, the Hutt Valley Chamber of Commerce 6-monthly report, items 5C, 9 and 10, which are part of our regular council business. So we'll begin with item 6, Seaview Marina Limited 6-month report to 31 December 2023. It's on page 100 of your agenda. I'll ask Darren Newth, Hutt City Council's Financial Accounting Manager, to speak to the item. Peter Steele, the Board Chair, and Tim Lidgard, the Chief Executive of Seaview Marina, are also welcome to the table. I'll hand over to, I think, you first, Darren.
Thank you, Chair. So I'd like to present the 6-month accounts for Seaview Marina. I'll take the report as being read, and the key results are outlined on page 102, which is the overview to the accounts. I think there's quite a comprehensive summary there. I'll hand over to gents here, whether you want to add any further comments.
I don't need to add any further comment, Tim.
No further comment from me. Open questions.
Thank you very much. Councillors, does anyone have any questions? Just a reminder, we're on the 6-month report at this stage. Does anyone have any questions there? I had one, just noting it's in the report, the damage to your tunnel house during the weather in October, and it notes that that's a critical indoor project space on the hard stand. Is that something that was easy to repair, or will you be looking to replace it in the long term? What's the plan there?
The product is built in South Auckland, and the repair has been completed. However, the major issue was the design of the door, and the easiest way to combat that was leave the door off.
Very good. Any further questions on that 6-month report? No, I can't see any. In which case, I will move the recommendation that the committee receives the half-year report from Seaview Marina Limited attached as Appendix 1 to the report. Could I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Stellinger. Would anyone like to speak to the motion? No, thank you very much for the report. I have a mover and seconder. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. I declare that motion carried. Now we're going to move in the agenda to page 8. It's the Seaview Marina Limited draft statement of intent 2425 to 2627. It's on page 8 of your agenda, as I mentioned, and I'll ask Darren again to introduce the item.
Thank you, Chair. So again, the appendix to this report shows the detailed draft SOI. I'd just like to note a few key points that have been included as part of this draft SOI, and that's the inclusion of the assumed purchase of the breakwater at $3.4 million, which is outlined in paragraph 7 of the cover report. Now this will be funded by way of additional borrowings, which is outlined in paragraph 15 of the report. And as a result, that will have an impact on return of equity levels, which are outlined in paragraph 13. So that's been brought about by additional borrowing costs, additional depreciation on the breakwater, and some other assumed cost pressures, partially offset by the increase in revenue through rate reviews, etc. I've got nothing further to add. Gentlemen?
Perhaps I commented, I think, at the meeting where this was first introduced. This is the most significant change in our statement of intent for some years. We are commencing paying a dividend this current financial year, and we are also looking to purchase the breakwater off council. So there'll be a number of changes to our finances in the next little while. The marina is a steady business. It has a reliable and steady income and should be able to stand those quite well. The issue for us is how much and how regularly we can pay dividends in the future with the additional debt that we take on for the breakwaters, and that's something we'll have ongoing discussions with council officers on.
Thank you, Peter. Do you have anything to add, Tim? No?
Nothing further from me, thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions on the statement of intent? Councillor Stellinger?
Just a little bit nervous answering it in case I've missed something in the papers, but do you have a rough idea, Darren or Peter, Tim, of the impact combined of the depreciation expense and the interest costs on the funding of the breakwater, the total impact that has on your projected surplus each year?
We have included it in our calculations, but specifically, we'll probably have to come back to you on that with the final figures.
Councillor Parkin?
Kia ora, through you, Chair. With regard to climate change, point 4 within the declaration, one of the things that's mentioned is that you'll replace fuel-powered vehicles, equipment and plant with electric-powered equivalents when due for replacement when commercially viable. If things are commercially viable before the equipment actually reaches the full end of its useful life, will you also be looking at replacing it?
Sorry, can you repeat if they are commercially viable or are not?
If they are commercially viable but the vehicle has not reached the full end of its life, but the commercial application stacks up to replace it before the end of its useful life.
Yes, and I think there's an element of resale value in there too, which will help with that.
Any other further questions or comments on the SOA? This is an opportunity for us to suggest any further changes before it comes back to us for adoption in June. I have just a couple, which really are for clarity. The first one, as Darren mentioned, the breakwater transfer situation was well covered in the cover report today. In the SOI itself, not quite as clear, and there's a section in there about development plans, 7.2. It mentions in-water development and it mentions on-land development. I wondered if a description of what's happening with the breakwater could be included as a third point there. And in 7.3, it makes a statement that breakwater lease payments are presently payable, maybe just adding to that, but will cease with the planned purchase of the breakwater. The other one I had was another climate-related one, actually. On page 21 of our paper, that's page 10 of your document, the targets for the next 3 years for reducing direct emissions, it's number 13. The targets are described as reducing direct emissions by 50% by 2030 and net zero by 2050. I just wondered if there's any way that annual goals could be extracted from that. 2030 is a 6-year target really for what's a 3-year plan, if there's any way that kind of intermediate targets of any kind could be included. Just suggestions.
Just to respond about the emissions, we're very keen to reduce our emissions. We have one quite big pit of diesel plant, which is our travel lift, for which there is no electric alternative available. And apart from that, we have fairly limited emissions caused by the marina's direct operations. So Potentially, but the last discussion we had at board level was that we really needed to understand our own emissions and to be able to manage them. And so at the moment, we're not really clear on our path to this. And so as we become clear, we may be able to draw the date forward, or we may have some issues such as plant that we can't replace in time. So the other future reports will have some more clarity on this, Mr. Chair.
My specific response to that is we do receive an annual carbon footprint calculation, which we collaborate with Hutt City Council on. And as we move forward, I've noted the point, we'll be able to look at that trend and extract goals from that.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have anything further to add before I put the motion? No. In that case, I'll put the recommendations on page 8. I'm going to ask Catherine to bring up on the screen one additional recommendation which isn't included in your papers. It's there as number 7. Darren noted in his introduction the impact of Seaview Marina borrowing more money to purchase the breakwater from Hutt City Council, and that really requires a change in our expectation for return on equity. So the new item number 7, recommendation 7, agrees to a revised return of equity of 0.4% in 2024-25, 0.2% in 25-26, and 0.2% 26-27, due to the increased costs of borrowing for the assumed purchase of the breakwater from council. So that's just an additional recommendation. The rest of them are there in your papers. Could I have a seconder for that motion, please? Councillor Dyer, thank you very much. Is there anyone who would like to discuss? Any debate? No? In which case we'll just thank the team once again for the paper, and we have a mover and a seconder. I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. I declare that motion carried. Thank you, team. Okay, next we are going to move to item 7 on page 111 of your agenda. This is the 6-month report to 31 December 2023 for Urban Plus Limited. Darren's staying in the hot seat, and we're joined by Pam Bell as well, the board chair, who's there on Zoom. So I'll ask Darren in the first instance to introduce the paper.
Thank you, Chair. So again, I'd like to present the 6-month accounts for Urban Plus Limited. So they're set out in Appendix 1 on your page 114 of this report. There is a detailed summary on page 122 of the results for Urban Plus. So other than that, I haven't got any further to add, and we'll hand over to Pam.
Kia ora, Pam.
Kia ora. Thanks, Darren. Thank you, Chair. Look, I just thought I'd just provide a little bit of general context. You've obviously seen the papers. I just thought I'd let you know about a few challenges and a few opportunities for Urban Plus in the broader environment. So at a macro level, as you'll probably know, we've got a slightly uncertain construction environment at the moment. Some of that is with the new government and some of the changes that we're all seeing. Of course, we're all aware of high inflation rates, which feed through to high mortgage rates. So the residential construction sector has slowed down to some extent. I guess that means more competition for first home sales. So at a local level, that's a win for first home purchases. So we're...
Kia ora, Pam. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yes.
Just letting you know that you're breaking up a lot. I might invite you to leave the meeting and join back in again, and we'll see if the connection's any better.
Sure thing. Apologies for that. I'll try that.
Thank you. We'll just pause for a moment and give Pam a chance to join back in. Welcome back.
Kia ora, thank you. Is that any better?
It's better now. It was fine when you started last time and broke up in the middle. So we'll see how we get on. If you want to try again, we didn't really catch much of your introduction there. Sorry.
Okay. My apologies for that. I'm just trying to provide a little bit of additional context outside of the papers you've received about some of the challenges and opportunities facing Urban Plus in the construction environment, some of which you'll be aware of. So on the challenges side of the scale, we have some uncertainty in the new economic and political environment, the high inflation, the higher mortgage rates. This is feeding through to a slower residential sector, and it means that more properties and more competition will be on the market for our first home purchases. That's, of course, a local win for our first home prospective purchasers. It's an uncertain environment that Urban Plus hasn't tested yet, as we have yet to have some of our products come to market in the next 12 months, just to let you know. On the flip side, the opportunities, the government has signalled support for the community housing or CHIP sector, which are an important client base for Urban Plus. We have got in our sites a larger mixed-use multi-unit property at Colson Hollard, which we're looking forward to developing and communicating alongside council. And I guess I would just also say we are supporting a second iwi into becoming a community housing provider. So that's a really great win on our side, and would like you to all be aware of that. That's Te Atiawa, of course. We've got over 30 apprentices on site right now, which again is a really good thing to be aware of. And I think also of our 183 units that are tenanted, there's a big community building push in terms of, I guess, vegetable and fruit tree provision, healthy homes, and just generally supporting those communities. And for those councillors that aren't aware of the housing in the portfolio, I would definitely urge you to connect with Daniel at Urban Plus, and if you're interested, we can organise a visit or something like that. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. And the connection was a lot better that time. Got you loud and clear.
Great, thanks.
Does anyone have any questions for Pam or for Darren? Councillor Dyer.
I think I know the answer, but I'll ask anyway. In the financials, there's obviously some pretty big variances there with deficits. I'm assuming that's just a timing thing of when things go on the market, when they don't. So I guess my question is there another way that you could present the information that kind of reassures us a bit more that we're not actually making $500,000 of loss in a year? It's really a timing issue, but without, obviously you've got set standards that you have to use. Just be keen to hear your thoughts on it.
We will consider it. I'm not sure what we can do in that space, but we will have a look at it. What we are doing though, even though we're setting out a 3-year SOI, we are actually budgeting for a 10-year plan and 20 years aligned with council. So we do actually go further beyond than just the 3 years presented in like a SOI, for example. So we'll have a look at it and see whether we can come back with something more beneficial in terms of timing of sales, etc.
Yeah, even if it was some sort of comment about just an assurance that a certain development is actually still profitable. I'm assuming it is, but there's nothing really in the report that sort of reassures us that, hey, this development's on target or a few months behind, but it's still on target to actually return an investment. Whereas you look at the numbers, it's kind of a bit hard to digest that.
Can I speak to that also?
Of course.
Oh, sorry, and I see Kerry too. So Darren, Brady, at one level, we do look at that kind of 10 multi-decade debt profile to make sure we're not breaking through our debt ceiling. And then at the other scale, we look at the individual project and the profit margin and make sure that that's compliant with the SOI, and also making sure that we can, wash our face. If you want those individual project type reporting, we could figure out a way to do that. But you're right that 6 months or 12 months and sometimes even 3 years in the scale of a construction project doesn't give you a full picture. So I think what you're saying is, can we get a picture in terms of the project as opposed to a picture in terms of the time period?
Yeah, that's exactly spot on. And obviously there's probably some commercial sensitivity stuff, so even just a really high level breakdown of projects being on target.
Sure, green light, red light kind of stuff.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
Kia ora. I'm not sure if this is for you, Darren, but in the appendix, can I ask you a question about information in there? Just looking at the Urban Plus landlord satisfaction survey, it's great, and I'm sure it's fantastic, but I think I've raised before that I'd like to see the numbers of people who were actually asked, because I'm not sure what that represents. Just reading through the information, I believe there's 192 residents and 18 who are in bed sits. But when I look at this, and it's fabulous that it's 96%, but is that 192 people or is that 2 people?
I will actually have to hand it over to Pam. I'm not sure about the full details of the survey.
Look, I think what we're seeing here is that almost all, 96% of respondents are satisfied with Urban Plus. And I imagine most of this is because we've been doing the Healthy Homes upgrade, which in itself is disruptive as it happens, but the end result is, of course, the heat pump insulation, much better living conditions. And I believe that combined with the community building aspects, the vegetable gardens, etc., the removal of trees that have been shading some properties is leading to that satisfaction. That's my understanding. We can certainly get a deep dive of that survey. That's just a snippet. And if anyone wants to receive that, I can check with Daniel about how we do that.
Kia ora. No, I think that's great. I don't need a deep dive. All I would like to see is the figures of actually how many answered the survey. Because I think that's all it needs for me to clarify what that 96% looks like, because I believe it's great. I believe all the things that you're doing are absolutely fabulous, but without the actual numbers, that's all I need is numbers. How many responded to the survey? How many residents do we have? How many responded?
Got it.
So that's quantitative, if that makes sense, as a data piece. Yeah, that would be fabulous.
Okay.
So thank you.
Councillor Dyer has another question.
Yeah, last time we met, I'm talking about Hollard Grove. Last time we met, there was some pretty exciting sort of big visionary piece around there. Just wondering what the progress is on there. Obviously, you've got it in the report of a new 18-unit development, which looks amazing. Is this what we're doing with Hollard Grove, or is that bigger piece still to come, or have we put it to the side for now?
I'm happy to answer that.
Please.
So the 18-unit one it's just the initial first stage at that development. There is a larger picture about unlocking a green space to bring it to a safer, more visible, active edge of the overall property, which would then allow the future stages. So that piece, I believe, is yet to be put into process, but I'm really happy for someone who's more knowledgeable to speak to that.
Thank you, Pam. I just have one question myself. You mentioned in your introduction the number 183, the current portfolio size. There's a note on page 124 of our agenda, it's page 11 of your report, that the target is to increase the portfolio size to 220 units, but in this period, the number of units decreased to 183. I was wondering if you could speak more to what that decrease was and why it occurred.
Yes, and I might have just been wondering that myself. I did read that. Look, I can't answer. I'll have to get Daniel to give us the specific reason for the decrease. I imagine it's part of the refresh of some of the units. I understand that the direction from council has been less around hitting that number of unit target, but I would be really interested in feedback from the room on that. We are not holding all the units, I think, is the main thing, is that a lot of units are produced that then go to market or to other CHIP clients.
Thank you, Pam. I think the Chief Executive has something to add.
I think I might be able to help, but please correct me if I'm wrong. So 2 things. In relation to that latter point, Pam, members have been really clear that what matters is the provision of warm, safe, dry, affordable homes, rather than the Urban Plus being the ultimate owner of those, hence our relationships with CHIPs. And I think the decrease in numbers is due to the fact that there were the matter on Jackson Street, Britannia Street with fire station and the like no longer are in the portfolio, and that's been done elsewhere, and I'm pretty sure that's the reason for that increase. And I can see a nod from Councillor Brown as the council's director on that board, so I think I'm probably right.
Okay, thank you all for that comprehensive answer. Are there any further questions? Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Thank you. Just in regard, thanks Pam, thanks for a great report as well. Just in regard to the one in Petone, 55 Britannia Street, and it's got a statement there that you're, looking for, searching for partners. Will that be in the CHIP relationship? Yeah.
Yes,
Just confirming that. Thank you.
yes. That's our primary.
Cool.
We've got plan B, C and D lined up as well.
Thank you. Okay, any further questions? No, in that case, if there's no more discussion, I will move that the committee receives the half-year report from Urban Plus Limited Group attached as Appendix 1 to the report. Could I have a seconder for that, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lewis. Would anyone like to speak to the motion? Councillor Brown.
Thank you. Thank you, Pamela and Darren. I just wanted to make a few points. I was going to turn them into questions, but they're discussion. That the partnerships that are happening with CHIPS, we don't count those numbers. So we've got 184 in the rentals. So we're providing houses for low-income elderly in our rentals. There's been a reduction because of Britannia Street, because they're getting completely overhauled in the flats there. But there's wider outcomes there with the gardens, the support. But most of all, Urban Plus has the units at a very high standard, higher than a lot of kainga ora. So there's work that's happening on them all the time. But the opportunity for us is in that change of government of the partnerships that Urban Plus does is ahead of any other partnership in the country. So there's real opportunity there, and there's plans for more work. Those houses that house community housing, so it's social housing, they're at that highest standard, Homestar 6, they're good quality, they have parking, and so just really encourage those future partnerships. And I just wanted to mention, Councillor Dye, you mentioned about there's a hump there. Some of that was not only the timing, but it was also when we had long waits around consenting, things piled up for a long time, and that was a big cause of that hump, and it's just sort of flattening out now. And most of all, I also want to say that there's a real commitment for apprenticeships. So for employment development, 33 apprentices currently on site now is a pretty good outcome. So thank you, Pamela.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Any further debate? Just like to add myself, Pamela has been noted in some of the kōrero already today, a really great report and lots of good stuff in there, the number of apprentices, the satisfaction of residents and all the progress that's being made. So thank you. Please pass our thanks on to the team as well. So we have a mover and a seconder for the motion. I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. I declare that motion carried, and we'll move straight to the next item, the Urban Plus Limited Group Draft Statement of Intent for 2024-25 to 2026-27. That's back on page 36 of your agenda. I'll ask Darren again to introduce the paper. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you, Chair. So again, I'll take this paper as being read. The appendix on page 40 shows the full draft statement of intent. Just a couple of points I'd like to raise at this point. So the financial results outlined in paragraph 15 shows an improved result per the SOI previously reported on. That is mainly due to the reduction in level of borrowings, which is outlined in paragraph 9. So that was an additional $20 million of borrowings that hasn't been utilised, which obviously lowers our interest costs and flows through into that result in paragraph 15. Other than that, I'll pass over to Pam for any other comments.
I don't have any further comments. I think the context ones for the 6-month report apply to the next 3 years. Happy to take questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Dyer?
Yeah, really happy with the statement of intent. It's great work. I've just got one that I think probably needs a bit of work, which is number 5, delivering on impended plan change 56. I think the wording that was in the previous SOI was probably more on target for what we were sort of wanting to deliver. Sort of my reading of the current draft sort of says we're going to follow best practices, align with the standards and guidelines within the operative district plan, but every developer in the city kind of has to do those things. So I'm kind of not entirely sure what it's saying we want. I think the intent is more around wanting more housing opportunities around the suburban shopping centres, the transport hubs, the higher density, and a good exemplar of that good medium density design guide that sits outside of the district plan. So I just think it needs a bit of work on this one, but I won't wordsmith it now. I'll leave it with you guys and we'll see it when it comes back. Thank you.
Councillor Edwards, did you have a question as well, or was that the same one?
It was exactly the same point, and I just wonder whether, wording in there along the lines of delivery on council's desire, where feasible, to see intensification near the transport hubs, near shopping centres, is what we're really aiming at. I mean, Plan Change 56, the government has made MDRS kind of optional. District Plan is yet to have that debate on whether we're going to pull back or stay with what we've got. So, and this is a 3-year SOI, so I think that wording does need some work.
And if I could just add one more point, because I'd highlighted the same thing. Even the title of it, Pam, Delivery on Amended Plan Change PC 56, and I think it used to refer to Plan Change 43. I think within this room, we know what that means and you know what that means, but our residents as stakeholders in all of this, probably not so clear on what that means. So a heading that summarises, I think, what the main intent of this part is. We all know that Urban Plus is doing a great job of kind of best practice townhouse development. That's not what this is talking about. So focusing it on that slightly higher density stuff, more targeted, closer to particular areas of the city. I think that's what we're really looking for here. So it is just a bit of wordsmithing, but I think we could be a lot more clear about what the intent of that part is. Are there any further questions? Thank you. Councillor Stellinger.
Yes, not so much a suggestion for a revision, about a possible revision to the draft, but a possible addition to future covering reports, specifically for Urban Plus. About a year ago, I did have a question which was well responded to by our team and the board, and that related to the 3-year projected surplus, which was very volatile, of course, as the earlier question and response from Councillor Dyer comment on. At that time, the 3 years was showing a combined deficit if you looked at the 3 years, and there was an assurance given that it was just timing, and once we got further out into the future, things would balance out. So very pleasing to see in year 2027 we have a juicy surplus, which does exactly as was indicated. But given that these figures are so volatile each year, it'd be great to have that additional project-based info, as was discussed earlier. But I wonder whether we could also have, when we're discussing the SOI, the 10-year projection that was talked about. Because if we could see just even the one line, surplus or deficit, what was estimated over the coming 10 years on a year-by-year basis, I think it would go a long way to offsetting the volatility, which makes it hard to gauge just how well the company's doing. So would that be possible?
Thank you. That was a yes from Darren, Pam.
Thanks, Darren.
I just had one more small thing, and it came from the questioning of the last paper, which was reference to, quote unquote, the portfolio size, and we had a bit of an explanation really of what that means, and if it pertains to this SOI looking forward, when the portfolio size is referred to, if there could be a simple explanation of what we are and aren't talking about in there, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Can I add?
Yes.
Sorry. Just in reference to the previous 2 comments and questions, look, we are pinning a lot of hopes on Colson Hollard to deliver at the scale that you're talking about. There's a 3-story walk-up as part of that master plan, and also to achieve a mixed-use development, which again will help us, for want of a better term, fill our coffers so that we can keep delivering at extremely low margins to community housing providers. We're one of the only developers that continues to deliver to community housing providers because we are so far below market. But we are carrying, at the board level, a lot of risk around Colson Hollard, and that is something that we're hoping to work with council on. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Pam. Okay, if there's no further questions, I will move the recommendations there on page 36 of your paper, essentially to receive and note the draft SOI, and we've provided a bunch of comments to the UPL board to consider in finalising the SOI. Could I have a seconder for those recommended? Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Is there any debate? Councillor Brown.
Thank you. I just wanted to make note of the two things of the portfolio size, the 220 units. That's a number that's been around for multiple years. The focus that's led by council is on CHIPS, community housing providers. That doesn't go towards the 220. The 220 are our rental properties that we have that we are unable to access any support for income-related rent. So they, the best outcomes are around that community housing provider. So while that number's still in there, it's not a target that that a board is working towards actively, because it's the community housing providers that is the partnerships, which is the real area that's focused, that has the very slimmest of margins. And with the plan change, there's a mixture of, when we're partnering with iwi, they have certain places that they wanting to place. So it's not, even though that can get changed, it's a huge partnership of where's best placed for the people living in the houses, as well as, so it can change, but there's a lot of little caveats within that.
Thank you. Councillor Parkin, did you have some comments?
Question actually, and it's probably to you, Chair. Can we look at actually changing that standard and that reporting line when it comes up? It's obviously not at the right time to do that at the moment, but I think it's something that we should actually change, and so that we're actually getting a report that reflects the aims of the council as well.
Yeah, I think those are really good points that have been raised there, and this is a bigger picture than just the rental portfolio held by Urban Plus Limited. We are giving direction to UPL's board, and I don't know if there's time really, but we can leave it with our officers, I'm sure, to have a chat to them and see if there's something more appropriate that can be incorporated before the SOI. This SOI comes back to us in June. Otherwise, certainly in future, looking at the portfolio size, not just as belonging to Urban Plus Limited, but also all the opportunities that are being created through by Urban Plus through our CHIPS there. So I think we could probably leave that with our officers, and it will either come back in this SOI or sometime in future, I'm sure. Is there any further debate? No. In that case, we have a mover and a seconder. I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. I declare that motion carried. Thank you, Pamela. And thank you, Darren. Our next paper, item 8, is the Hutt Valley Chamber of Commerce 6-monthly report to 31 December 2023. This one is on page 140 of your agenda. We have James Lamb, Head of Business and Economy, to speak to the item, and also Patrick McKibben, Chief Executive of the Chamber of Commerce, is here as well. Kia ora.
Kia ora koutou. And thank you, Patrick, for being here. Apologies from Chamber President Mark Skelly, who is out there making it happen, much as the vibe at the Chamber in all other times. Look, this is the first report for the third year in a 3-year contract, which echoes the long-term plan cycle. So we'll be getting on to a new contract for that very shortly. I say this every time. We really value the partnership we have with the Chamber of Commerce. They are proactive beyond their membership, beyond our city, beyond our region. And often these reports look backwards. So I just wanted to point out the 2 highlights that I've put in my covering report. And that is, yes, we do respond to the business of the day, but there is a continuing effort on both sides, particularly of late, at multiple levels across this organisation, across multiple teams, to engage early with each other on the work that we are both doing, and that is really, really promising. The best example of that is work that we have supported the Chamber to get underway with across the Hutt Valley, which is building a 10-year vision for our business community. That's work that started last year, that will engage more businesses over time, and you'll hear more about it. No doubt Patrick will probably mention it shortly, and you'll see more coming forward. But really, this is the opportunity for Patrick to update you on the work he's been doing.
Kia ora, Patrick.
Kia ora, and thanks very much for the opportunity. Again, thanks, James, for supporting us here, and generally speaking, thanks to the Hutt City Council for your support. Mark, as James said, Mark Skelly does send his apologies. He was hoping to be here today, but unfortunately isn't able to be. Look, I'm not going to go through our kind of a line-by-line summary of the report, but I did want to kind of focus on the executive summary because, you know, as James said, there have been some highlights over the last 6 months. Probably the highlight for us each year is the 2 Degrees Wellington Regional Business Excellence Awards, and we're very grateful for the Hutt City Council's support on that. But this year was bigger and better than ever. We had an increase in entries of around 45%, but particularly our engagement through our social media marketing campaign across the Hutt Valley and across the Wellington region was 4 times greater than we'd done before. Our partner, 2 Degrees, was here a couple of weeks ago and commented that their team were getting annoyed. They were seeing their name so often on social media. They reported that in jest. But you know, so we have a number of partners that are very happy with that, and we've already begun planning for those awards this year. The other points that I really wanted to make was last year we started a food and beverage manufacturers group. That's it's an important sector and growing sector for our region. We have both significant food and beverage manufacturers such as Mexicana and Rutherford and Meyer, Tom and Luke's, and others. And so our aim there is to bring those partners together to learn and grow. And so we had a couple of events last year which were really well received. And in actual fact, we've got another event in conjunction with Wellington NZ next Wednesday. So we're starting that process again this year. I think for a good thing, we're spending a lot more time on our events and training opportunities for our business community. And we're having more and more of those types of activities. And again, reiterating James's comment, we're really excited to have started the work around what we're calling the future of the Hutt Valley. It's a piece of work to articulate a vision and some actions that we think are important. Not only that we think are important, but our business community think are important. So we have spent quite a bit of time interviewing key businesses and business leaders around the region, and that will be reflected in the report, which touch wood is not too far away. It's taken a little bit more time to bring everything together because it is such an important piece of work for us that we want to make sure it's right. But you'll absolutely get the chance to see the report before we launch it, I think. So we're really excited about the work we're doing at the moment on behalf of the business community. I think reflecting on the work we did last year, particularly the social engagement, we're seeing a lot more new people come to our events this year, and that might be a reflection of the events we're putting on, but also the awareness and knowledge of events. And so we are kind of doubling down on that activity this year. We're partnering with Wellington Uni professionals to provide a series of learning lunchtimes, we're calling them, one of which we had today around cybersecurity. And we're also partnering with others to provide learning opportunities for our business community so they and their staff can continue to learn and grow. We've got a couple of new partnerships this year, one with ACC, which we're very excited about. They obviously have a focus on health and safety. And surprisingly for us, the Hutt Valley has a slightly worse profile around health and safety particularly in our retail and manufacturing communities than elsewhere in the country. And so we are going to be working with them on that activity and raising the profile of their work. And look, a couple of things to mention around our education to employment. One, we've lost the services of our long-time education to employment coordinator, Amanda, but picked up a young lady who's been working with Ngāti Toa in their education to employment space. And we're very excited about the continuation and different approach that might bring for us in that work. We're also running a new skills program in conjunction with some funding we got from JP Morgan, which is very exciting. We're just talking about that today, and actually we're going to start at Nainai College, and they're inundated with students to take part in that course. So look, we're very grateful for the support of Hutt City Council. We're very excited about continuing that support and the work we're doing, and we've got a very good team that are, I think, very focused on delivering for the Hutt Valley. So thank you for your opportunity to come and talk.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for the very fulsome report and plenty to highlight, as you've just noted. Does anyone have any questions? We'll go Councillor Morgan first.
Kia ora, Patrick. Yeah, I really enjoy reading this report. It's so comprehensive and so exciting to see what you're all doing in that space. So namahi, I really love that. Just a question about the Hutt Valley Porirua Manufacturing Academy that you are launching, or where is that at? Just wondering if you can give a short synopsis of how that works and what schools are involved. Is it open to all schools?
Yeah, look, we haven't started yet. It's still at the proposal stage. We had the opportunity to engage with Andrew Bailey, who's the MP, now the Minister of Manufacturing, last year in a series of meetings. One of the things that came out of that series of meetings, and actually is coming out of his work now around the country, is that there's a talent shortage in the engineering manufacturing space. Many of our regional businesses say that, and certainly nationally that's the answer too. So we were asked to put forward a proposal. We did that in conjunction with a number of schools and a number of employers, the Workforce Development Council, and some of the training providers as well. It's still with Andrew and his team for consideration. I get told off for this at my board, but I think it's a possibility rather than a reality at this stage. But we're keeping pushing. The work that I'm doing with the Advanced Manufacturers Association, there's a part of that which is also around talent. And so we're pushing that view in that work as well. It would be fair to say that our schools are very excited about the opportunity. But I would be kind of cautioning whether it will turn into reality at this stage. The government doesn't have a huge amount of money, as we all know. So we shall see, I think, but I'll keep you up to date.
Thank you, Patrick. Councillor Edwards, I think, had a question.
Thanks. Speaking of the government not having a huge amount of money, firstly, congratulations to the Chamber for the power of work you're getting through. I wondered whether you had any comment. It was great to see that Liquium, although I don't know what Liquium does from Victoria Uni is coming out here, but the Callaghan Innovation Campus redevelopment, my understanding is the government has knocked funding on the head for that. Is there any advocacy that council or the chamber can do, or what is the situation on that campus?
Yeah, look, I think we'd welcome any additional advocacy on the Callaghan site from the council. We had the opportunity, Mark and I, to sit down with Minister Collins and Minister Bishop last Friday, particularly as a result of the fact we wrote to Minister Collins about the fact that they had indicated that they were getting rid of the funding for Science City. I think I need to be a little bit cautious about what I say, because it might be my opinion rather than theirs, but they certainly have indicated that there won't be the same funding. They certainly indicated that the Callaghan site was very important to them. But I think that Minister Collins is going to establish a science advisory board to advise her on what the next kind of steps are. And probably that's where I should leave that, because otherwise it's my speculation rather than the reality. But they did indicate science was very important to them and that the site was very important to them. But as to where that will lead, I'm not sure.
Thank you. Councillor Stellinger.
Thanks. I think many months back I did ask a question of whether there was too much in the contract, too many deliverables. I see from this report really my concerns are a bit unfounded, so congrats, very impressive. I've just got a couple of questions which really just relate to sustainability going forward. I'm not sure to what extent you can answer, but the first part is around membership numbers, but probably more important element is your projected ongoing income streams. Do you feel confident you can maintain this impressive level of activity going forward?
Look, I think we talk about working with about 1,000 organisations. It comes and goes. So our membership through last year continued to increase. I think at the start of this year, we've seen a number of smaller businesses review their membership. And I think that's reflective of the current business environment, particularly in that retail kind of hospitality space, which is very tough. It's interesting that, it seems to be very tough with the exception of the Working Men's Club in Petone, where apparently they're going gangbusters. I guess that's a price point thing, but they can't keep up with demand and staff numbers there. So that's an interesting kind of insight for me. But generally, business is quite hard work. The pipeline of work towards the end of this year for particularly our construction manufacturers, our steel manufacturer, is very, very slim, I'd say, and that reflects the environment of projects not getting signed off, larger developments around the country, particularly some in Wellington, kind of taking a pause with the new government. As to our sustainability, look, we've certainly been putting some money aside in our budgets for that eventuality. We run a very slim operation. We are bringing somebody back this next Monday, actually, as part of our work around the JP Morgan work. So we'll have a slightly bigger team, a part-time role of somebody that's coming back from maternity leave. I do worry about the future, but we keep working hard at looking at new avenues and new opportunities to fill our pipeline of activity and work at the end of the day. So that's the best way I can answer that.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, and thank you for the report, particularly around the youth, and can see why you're getting a diverse range of people coming, because your workshops are really diverse and changing face of who you're working with. And you're doing a heap of work, but I have got a question with my Wainuiomata ward hat on. We've invested in Wainuiomata. It's the township's changing. It's one of the fastest growing. But there's certain areas of hospitality, James will know, that we haven't been able to attract. And I guess the question is, would there be any space to consider sort of satellite opportunities for places like Wainuiomata that are tailored to the latest uplift, and that's really sort of uplifting our business community as well as our opportunities. Even a think tank around that, because we're a little bit lost on where to go.
Yeah, look, we'd welcome the opportunity to get involved in those initiatives. In terms of the retail hospitality, James did reach out regarding the Love Wainui Amata and the opportunity for an additional hospitality venue. That was a hard one for our existing partners because at the moment they can't kind of extend themselves any further to do that sort of thing. Some of them are already kind of extended quite far in the first place. I think it would be awesome for us to consider running some events in Wainui. We should do that. It's not something that we've done before, or certainly not in my time. So we'd love to enter conversations about how we could do that. Yeah.
Thank you, Patrick. Any further questions? I had one. You mentioned the proposal to the Minister of Small Business and Manufacturing around the Manufacturing Academy. What's the ask there, or the hope? Is that something that hopefully the government would fully fund, or is it more of a partnership kind of model that you'd be looking at?
There's two funding streams. So we've been very successful over the last year, particularly in establishing what we call the Engineering Academy at Nainai College, and that's going again this year, and also an Infrastructure Academy. And academy is a bit of a catch-all phrase for giving it a name, but they're based on the government's existing model, or the education, the existing model of a trades academy, which is funded. We've been lucky in both those instances to receive Trades Academy from funding from Tipukinga, let's put it that way. It actually came from the Manawatu Trades Academy rather than our local one because of capacity and capability in that space. And the new proposal is based on that same model. So 50% of the funding would come from Trades Academy, and then 50% would come from the government in some form or another to support the engagement with employers and schools and the pastoral care. So schools identified a pastoral care element that was really important to them, and so we factor that into the proposal going forward. So it's a bit 50-50. Ultimately, all comes from the government, but from different pots of money at the end of the day.
Thank you very much. No further questions? In that case, I will move that the committee receives and notes the Hutt Valley Chamber of Commerce report for the 6 months to December 2023, attached as Appendix 1 to the report. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Dyer. Would anyone like to speak to that motion? We'll go for Councillor Dyer first.
Kia ora, thank you. I just really want to commend you. We see a lot of reports around this table, and this is one I always look forward to reading. It's always such a great read at a time where it's increasingly challenging for businesses. The work you do with the events and the training and the benefit your members get, it can't be understated. We also get a lot of newsletters, regular newsletters, and yours is one that I always read cover to cover, even though we already know a lot of it. It's great that you keep your business community so informed about what's happening in the Hutt Valley across so many different spectrums. I know this is a report looking back, but I am really excited for the makerspace bit that's touched on just enough just to give me a little bit of excitement, but not give away too many secrets yet. And the future of business in the Hutt, because I think it is one part that we haven't really looked at for a while around that strategic where the Hutt Valley business wants to go. So yeah, thank you very much to you and your team, and again to you, James. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to invite Councillor Briggs to comment as well.
Thank you for enabling me to talk as a non-committee member, Chair. Just similar to Councillor Dyer, I want to acknowledge your work, Patrick. Wherever I go, the business community always talks about your visible leadership in the sector, and also your collaboration as well, as noted time and time again. I was actually at the Chamber yesterday for a workshop in my other capacity, and everyone there was talking so highly of the Chamber and the regular events and the chance for them to actually engage as leaders in the sector. So thank you for the ongoing work.
Thank you. Just briefly to comment, yes, thank you very much for, as I said, a very full report. I think you struggled to narrow down the highlights, and I knew Councillor Dyer, one for him would be the makerspace, so something for us to keep an eye on. And I think you ended your introduction by saying that your team really appreciates the close working relationship, and I'm sure I can speak for everyone around the table that we do also. So I have a mover and a seconder. I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Any against say no. I declare that motion carried, and thank you very much, Patrick, to you and the team. Thank you, James. All right, our next paper is number 5, the recommendation to Council from 27th of March 2024, the adoption, 5C, the adoption of Hutt City Council's Control of Animals bylaw. It's on page 62 of your agendas. I'll invite Richard Hardy to come to the table if you'd like to and introduce the paper. I'm very happy to speak to it as well.
Kia ora koutou. Just very quickly, the purpose of this paper is to present some additional information alongside the hearing committee's recommendations so that this committee can make recommendations to council concerning the amendments to the to the Control of Animals bylaw and to present it for adoption.
Thank you, Richard. I think one thing I would just note that came out of the hearings subcommittee, and just acknowledging Councillors Morgan and Parkin for joining me on that hearing. There was one amendment. If you look at paragraph 14 on page 64, the underlined bit at the end of C, it was a recommendation from, I think it came from the SPCA and their knowledge of this topic, to allow for desexing to be deferred if a registered veterinarian has determined it would negatively impact the cat's health and welfare. So that was a particular concern, I think, that comes from the vet sector, that cats aren't always ready to be desexed at such a young age, that it could be deferred. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Stallinger?
It's good to see the survey responses are very compelling, but I just had one question, Richard, if I may, on that. Did you get a breakdown of responses between cat owners and non-cat owners?
I might just call Angela to the table, as she was the one who did the detailed analysis.
It was our intention to do so. Unfortunately, the survey had a little bit of a glitch in it in the beginning. And so as people were answering questions to the survey, at one point they were meant to divert into cat owners and not cat owners. And it failed to do so over the first couple of days. So we have some partial evidence between those two parties, but not full. What can you tell us? It was basically the same. Between cat owners and non-cat owners, there was equal support for the proposed amendments.
Thank you. Any further questions? No? In that case, I will move the recommendations on page 62, that the committee adopts the minutes of the hearing subcommittee meeting held on the 30th of November 2023, with the exception of item 3 as attached to Appendix 1 to the memorandum. 2, notes the hearing subcommittee recommendations to amend the Control of Animals bylaw as recorded in the deliberations minutes attached as Appendix 1 to the memorandum. 3, notes the statement of proposal attached as Appendix 2 to the memorandum. And 4, recommends that Council adopts the Control of Animals bylaw attached as Appendix 3 to the memorandum, noting that the bylaw will come into force on the 28th of March 2024. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Edwards, thank you. Would anyone like to speak to the motion? I think I probably should. I'll let Councillor Edwards go first.
You'll describe it better than me, Andy, but this has been a long road to get this one across the line, and I'm really glad to see it happen. We haven't solved all the issues. There's still the issue of our officers have made it very clear to us that our animal control doesn't have the resources to go around chasing cats that may or may not be stray. But speaking from personal experience, when my parents' cat went AWOL during a house shift, was lost for 3 months, dining out, we suspect, on skinks and birds just to survive. And that cat was returned solely because it was microchipped, and someone eventually found it in another suburb. So it can, if you care about your cat, you should have no objection to these things that we're bringing through. And I'm glad to see it happen.
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to comment that I should say something before this passes out of committee. I think it's been in this committee now for 4 years and a couple of years of investigation before that. So glad to see this passing through committee and onto council. I'm just acknowledging the work of our various officers over that entire period, and especially to the many members of the public who have come to this table and submitted on the issue over that time. It's been a very long kōrero, and we've had experts from organisations like Predator Free New Zealand and the SPCA, Forest and Bird, and various local Lower Hutt conservation and cat rescue groups. So thanks to all of them for their input and for their ongoing mahi in our community. The recommendations that are being put forward, worth noting, and it is in the paper, that these changes are consistent with changes that were proposed by the government's Environment Select Committee when they visited this issue last year. So these may well become national rules sometime soon anyway. Noting too that a number of people requested further restrictions around numbers of cats per household. A lot of people talked about containment, particularly those who had lived overseas where that's a more common practice. So I think we can see today's changes as an important first step, and maybe further restrictions can be considered when this bylaw's next reviewed in full, which is in another 4 years' time. So we have a mover and a seconder. Is there anyone else, sorry, who would like to speak to the motion? No? It's been moved and seconded. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. I declare that motion carried. Thank you, Richard. Okay, our next report is Hutt City Council's quarterly performance report from the 1st of October to the 31st of December 2023. That's on page 162 of your agenda. I'll invite Gemma Burse, Head of Enterprise Portfolio Management Office, to speak to this item. Kia ora, Gemma.
Hello, thank you. So I'm presenting the quarterly performance report for quarter 2, which is 1st of October to the 31st of December 2023. I will assume is read, but I will also draw your attention to the highlights section, which is on pages 3 to 6, which provides updates on the key wins for this quarter, particularly around the long-term plan progress and some good updates on some of our key major projects. You will also note on page 6 that we have included some of the key challenges faced through quarter 2 as well. And of course, the standard financial summary can be found from pages 39 onwards. Otherwise, officers are here to answer any questions you have or for me. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Gemma, for compiling and introducing the report. There are a bunch of officers in the room who hopefully between them can answer any questions anyone has. Anyone have any questions? Councillor Morgan.
Kia ora. Just wondering, on page 162, the community wellbeing section is now out, and that will come through in the quality of life survey and the residents satisfaction survey. Just wondering, can you just talk us through why that section is now out, please?
It's actually due to timings. So the information is not available at the time we produce this each quarter. So we've just decided to wrap it up and include it in those other ones instead of adding to the report later on.
Thank you. And just to follow up, so just when it is reported, it will be broken down, though it'll be easy to ascertain specific things through those two avenues?
Yeah, I think we're still working through the details of that, but that is the intention, yeah.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, can also add to that we recognise that reporting on community wellbeing and that information is incredibly important. So whether it be through the resident satisfaction survey, the quality of life, and other products that we're producing, like the community profiles that are coming through Communities Culture and Partnerships, we'll be continuing to make sure we're reporting on that wellbeing information.
Thank you. And I think just to note too that part of the report requires a lot of information from external parties, and I think that was the reference to timing there, that it's not always available as frequently as we would like to put this report together. Any further questions? Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. Sustainability and resilience on page 173. Just the indicator there, percentage of community resilience plans. We haven't been doing them, but I just wondered, is that a REMO indicator or is it a council measure?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is a measure that is looking at REMO's performance. So REMO conducts that function in community resilience planning on council's behalf.
Thank you.
Councillor Dyer.
Yeah, just one from me. On page 4 of the report, 167 and diligent, under the highlights section, it talks about the first completed section of Te Pōrahorenuku opening, but then when you look through on the non-performance, non-financial KPIs, it says we've delivered 0 kilometres of new shared pathway. Just wondering whether that should be in there.
Through you, Chair. Thanks, Councillor. So, yeah, in terms of the funding for Te Pōrahorenuku, the last piece was only confirmed late last year. So hence that's in this quarterly report. We're doing some work on the measurement of shared paths and cycleways, because it's been a little bit, it's been done in different ways up until now, and it's been quite hard to understand the difference between shared paths and cycleways and align them to NZTA guidelines. So we're working on that for the new year. So we'll get a lot more consistency, and also have the first couple of bays of Te Pōrahorenuku in there from the start of from July.
So just to add to that, we'll reflect that in the next quarter's performance, Councillor Dyer, and also at year end.
Thank you. I see Bruce sitting up in the back corner there. Bruce, could I invite you to the hot seat, please, for a couple of questions? Thank you, Bruce. This is to do with performance in the Three Waters area. On page 188, in the wastewater section, item 3 in there, which is attendance on issues with the sewage system. The target was 90 minutes, the actual 1,019 minutes. That's a significant discrepancy there. And it mentions that Wellington Water's working to address this with councils. What's in play to try and improve that one?
Can I come back to you on that one? I'll need to go and have a chat to Wellington Water on that. Thanks.
The other water one I had, and this was noted, I think, in the previous report, it's an issue that's been around for a little while, which is the Waterloo treatment plant compliance with, I think it's chlorination of the water there, and wondering if there's an update. I think I saw something from Wellington Water that an application for an exemption had been declined, so just wondering what's happening with that one.
Yes, that is correct. Mr. Chairman, they're doing work at the moment to quantify what the work is going to be, that's going to be required to rectify this, and they'll be reporting back possibly before the end of this financial year, because at the moment there is no funding within our draft LTP for that work, and the cost of that work is going to fall solely on Hutt City Council. It's not a regional, it's a local thing. And so I'm hoping to be able to report back in late May, early June on what the implications are of that.
Thank you for the update. The other question I had, I think, is for Alison, to do with, this is on page 207 of the agenda. There's comment there about, this is in the net operating results, unfavourable regulatory services being forecast to be $2.9 million unfavourable to the budget at year's end, mainly due to additional resources and processing costs for building consents, resource consents and subdivision engineering. I guess my question is, because we aim for this service to be self-recovering in terms of costs, does this indicate that we might require an adjustment to the fees that we're charging for these services?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this has been quite an extensive change management project, so we've had to put extra funding into to basically rebuild the department. We've just been through the majority of this overrun is actually in the building area. We've just been through the IAN's audit, and which has basically said that everything, the building blocks are in place, but we really need a bit longer to actually embed it. And in that time, we will have to continue to rely quite heavily on external contractors to backfill our resources and also for further business improvement. So yes, we will need preferably to put up the fees as we have indicated in the LTP process to be able to meet, to be able to narrow that gap between our income and our expenditure.
Thank you. Are there any further questions on the report? Councillor Stallinger?
Yes. Backtracking a little, my mind was just spinning a bit. The question that was responded to by Mr. Hodgins about the sewerage system time, I wonder if another one could be added to that, Bruce, if I could. It just seems to me that we confirm that the resolution of the blockage in less time than it takes to actually get to the site on average seemed a little strange. There may be a logical explanation, but I couldn't think of it. 14 hours to clear the blockage, but about 16 hours to get there.
Bruce, maybe is that something you can come back to us on? Thank you, Bruce. Well spotted, Councillor Stallinger. Okay, are there any more questions on this report? No. In that case, I would like to move the recommendation that the committee notes and receives the quarterly performance report for the period 1 October to 31 December 2023, attached as Appendix 1 to the report. Would someone like to second that, please? Thank you, Councillor Stallinger. Would anyone like to speak to this motion? No. In that case, we have a mover and a seconder. I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. I declare that motion carried. Thank you, Gemma. Okay, our final item here, the information item, is the Policy, Finance and Strategy Committee Forward Programme on page 219 of your agendas. Does anyone have any questions about the Forward Programme? No. In that case, I will move the recommendation that the committee receives and notes the draft Forward Programme for 2024 attached as Appendix 1 to the memorandum. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lewis. Anyone like to speak to that? No. We have a mover and a seconder. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. I declare that motion carried. Questions? We have received no questions. I'm going to put up our closing karakia. I think we should close because we're going to take a break, I understand, between these two meetings. So please join me. Unuhia, unuhia, unuhia I te uru tapunui, kia wātia, kia māma, te nākau, te tinana, te wairua I te ara takatu. Koia rā e rongo, whakaerehia āki ki runga, kia wātia, ai rā, kua wātia, hau pai māriri. Okay, I declare this meeting closed at 3:20. We're going to take